Welcome to Nomad Media Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about my 1970 Dodge Charger once again. So this is going to be part two, just telling some new stories because I've had this car for, going on 3 years now, and as you can see, it's quite white out here on this cold day in January, which everybody's probably going to remember for North Alabama, but I was like, what better day than to get a shot in the snow with the Charger. So here we are, doing this interview right here, or self-interview that is, but let's get right into some of these stories so I can get out of this cold weather here. So the first story, it happened last year as well. Like all these stories, I believe, are last year's stories, but I've got three good ones to be telling you. So first story, I was at work one day and I was talking to my buddy, or one of my co-workers, and she had never actually driven a car with manual brakes on it. I don't know if I think I mentioned that in the first video, but she had never driven a car with manual brakes on it. This one here has Willwoods on it, but I did keep them manual when I swapped them out. So what I did with her was I drove my car to work one day and I let her drive it around the parking lot to see the difference. And the reason why I'm telling this story here, it was so much fun to watch someone who had never experienced an old car before get that experience. So this lady, she got in the driver's seat and everything, and put it in drive, and we start driving around the parking lot. Obviously we didn't go out on open roads or anything like that, but driving it around the parking lot, and she's barely giving it any type of gas. And if you've ever driven an old car, depending on how perfect your adjustments are, your gas pedal can have a little bit of play in it, and this car is, no better than that. It's got a little bit of play in it, but she pushed forward on the gas pedal and she thought she was giving it gas. She wasn't giving it gas. The car was moving in idle, so she didn't know, and I thought it was funny. The bigger thing here though is when she went to hit the brakes, which is the whole purpose of why we went out to the car anyways, she pressed the brakes and nothing happened. Like the car kept rolling. So she didn't know that she had to give it a lot of force to get it to actually engage the brakes. So that was nerve-wracking, but it was such a fun experience to have because it lets you reflect on the past and like how different these older cars are. That in itself, it was just funny. Now, when we went and we turned back around the parking lot, I didn't kick her out of the driver's seat right away or anything like that, but I was like, all right, this time when you go, first, give it some gas. And this is where I found out she thought she was, because she said, I was. And no, I was like, no, you wasn't. That was idle. But I said, give it some gas. And then when we start to approach the end of the lane here, go on and stomp on the brakes. Like, go on and fully engage them. And it was such a shock for her that, it was one of those things that she garnered, in my opinion, I think she garnered a little bit of respect for the older cars and the people who drive them. And she also said, you know what, I'm not going to be in front of any old cars when I'm driving around, because she was so terrified of how the brakes operated. But funny story, that happened this year, just sharing my love of old cars with the people I work with and the people that, I interact with on a daily basis. Well, that's going to do it all for that story right there. But let's move on into the second story. Second story here, me and a buddy, we went and rebuilt the front end on this car. So the goal for this was we were going to rebuild the front end to like new bushings, new bearing, or new bushings and tie rod ends and all those good things. You know, getting all that rebuilt, upper and lowers. You know, we did all of that on this car ourselves. We did it at my shop. Well, the purpose for rebuilding the front end on this car, obviously it needed it. It was a original front end, you know, really old, 50 years old. It was worn out. But we were going to a show called Moparfest at the Battleship. And this show happens at the USS Alabama down in I think it's called Battleship Memorial Park in Mobile, Alabama. But we were going to drive down to it, and it's approximately a 6-hour drive from where I'm located. So we went and rebuilt this front end, and we drove on down to the Battleship. Yes, we made it. No issues, no hiccups or anything. This is a great running car, just like it was when I did the first interview here, but or part one, you know. But we made it perfectly fine and everything. Well, we get down there and everything, and I notice my tire's scrubbing a little bit, just a little bit. Any car guy out there watching is going to know that, you know, most likely means we didn't do something right. Well, it turns out we didn't get all the bushings changed. We got down there and there was one bushing, and it's escaping me which one it was, but it was worn out to the point where I couldn't really set the caster on my wheels. So a little embarrassing, but you know, it just goes to show you though that some of these things on these old cars aren't readily apparent. When we were going to change it and everything, we thought we had hit every one of them, but we missed one of them. What we ended up having to do, one, drive back very carefully. We did try to change it there, but it was such a overbearing job that we said, okay, we're gonna have to go back to the shop to do this. But we did make it home, and the car performed great, and I got it changed out. No issues, nothing's broken or anything like that. Didn't bend anything, but you talk about it was a fun trip down there. And I want to point out the Battleship as well. I have a video that I'll link down in the description for that show. It was a while back. I think it was April maybe. But our good friends at BEMA from Louisiana actually put that on every year at the USS Alabama. If you haven't been, be sure you check it out. I'll try to link some of their information down in the description as well so that you can check out that event if you're interested. But it is Mopars only, so you know, you got a good Mopar, you got a nice Mopar, bring it on out. Show a bunch of other Mopar lovers out there what you got and what you're working with. But you know, I think that's pretty much just it for that story there. I'll show some pictures here, like got some pictures of the car in front of the Battleship. That's really cool. It was a murky day this year, but last year. Coming up this year, hopefully it's gonna be much nicer. As for the final, you know, last but not least, stories with this car. I got to take this car out on Talladega. You know, and actually this isn't gonna be my last one either, but you know, I got to take this car out on Talladega. Did pretty good for itself, you know, for first time on Talladega, or second time on Talladega. I'm just now telling about it. They'll probably mention it in the first video if I remember correctly, but got to take it out on Talladega. Let it see what it was capable of. You know, open it up on the road it was built for, but or on the track it was built for. So, got it out there and everything. This old car here, a lot of people's like, oh, I bet you it's super fast and everything. I'm like, man, I know for a fact this car does not have anything more than 120 miles an hour. Like, that's foot to the floor, 120 miles an hour. And at that point there, I'm spitting oil out the back. If you're watching this and you're not a super, you know, into the car world or anything, you may think like, oh, that's not good. Well, it's just stuff with these old cars, you know, like you have to love it, you have to enjoy it, but it's not something to freak out about. And there's plenty of people at this show that were more than willing to help us out, or help me out in the long run to track down the problem. Turns out No problem. I was just giving it too much. You know, I checked all the valves. PCV valve is where a lot of people were like pointing towards, but there's actually nothing wrong with the car. It was just spitting oil out the back. It is an old engine, so you know this is a stock car here. It's got the original engine, original transmission, drivetrain, and everything in it. You know, it's just an old engine. It probably needs rebuilt, so it's probably got some things with it. But as for driving, I've been driving it since that show, which was actually, it wasn't last year in 2023. It was the year before that happened. So I'm telling you an older story here. But you know, these old cars, they have stuff like that. Just be aware. And now I'll get to last but not least. Me and my buddy Joey Whitlow took my car and his car. And if you recognize the name, he owns the Nissan 240Z Fairlady. And I'll link that interview in the description below as well. Me and him took both of our cars out and we shot some really cool rolling footage, some aerial footage. You know, we did some drone footage, made some cool shots of the cars. I'm sure you're seeing that in the intro and in the outro now. And, you know, that was a lot of fun with him and doing it with the car. And what's funny about that and like why I love this story is like, you know, we had a lot of people looking at us while we were shooting these shooting these videos and things. But we were just having fun with it, you know. I was sticking, you know, GoPro suction cups on the car. You know, I had it on the back and on the front, doing some trailing and leading shots. And, you know, it was just people looking at it like my car looked like a unicorn because it had a, it had a GoPro sitting off the front of it, which just a lot of fun, you know, playing with your friends. And I couldn't have it. There's nothing better than that, in my opinion, than having fun with these old cars. But those are just a few updates on the car, you know, a couple of news stories here and there. I hope everybody's enjoying this content, you know, especially these self interviews, which are a little weird but or awkward. But, you know, I hope everybody's enjoying the content. You know, we're going to be back in the new year. We're going to have more. I hope everybody enjoys the new intro. And, you know, with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
At the next car show.
There you have it, guys. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope everybody enjoys this nice snowy backdrop and everything here and me getting out here in the cold to do this. So y'all have a great one.